I now present to you one of my favorite headlines of all time. This is from Time magazine. President Trump's budget includes a $2 trillion math mistake. Come on, man. That's so embarrassing. How do you do that? Like, think about how stupid these guys are, because it's not like, one person does the budget and then let's release it. No, it's like a whole team. It's a staff. It's a room full of advisors and so-called economists and pretend experts. But this is exactly what we mean. It's just corrupt corporate shills. Like, that's what the Republican Party is. It's a mix of, like, Kool-Aid drinking Christian fundamentalists and just 100% corrupt corporate shills. And that's not to say the Democrats are good. They're not. You know my whole spiel on that. But, like, a $2 trillion mistake? That is so goddamn embarrassing. Trump's got 4, right? Or maybe more now at this point. Goldman Sachs guys who are top economic advisors in his administration. All these jackasses are there, doing the budget. Nobody's like, hey, wait a second. We had a $2 trillion mistake. Oh, that's unreal. Because they're not, you don't actually have to be smart to work at those places. It's nepotism. It's, hey, daddy was rich, now I'm part of the club. It's the country club crowd. It's the elitists. It's the people who fucking got to stick up their ass and think they're better than everybody just because they are who they are and they're part of the good sperm club. That's a weird phrase. But anyway, let me give you what they say here. President Trump's budget includes what critics charge is a simple accounting error that adds up to a $2 trillion oversight, though the White House said it stands by the numbers. You can't, it's not a thing, you can't do that. Under the proposed budget released Tuesday, the Trump administration's proposed tax cuts would boost economic growth enough to pay for $2 trillion in spending by 2027, but the tax cuts are also supposed to be revenue neutral, meaning that money is already supposed to pay for the revenue lost from the tax cuts. Oh my God, you're so stupid. Oh, how did you not catch that? That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Ugh. Guys, let me explain something to you about trickle-down economics. It's the dumbest shit that's ever been thought of. So, it's so stupid. Get this. How's this for a little historical fact? It's so stupid that George H.W. Bush called it voodoo economics. He's a Republican. But you're thinking, well, how the fuck could he call it voodoo economics? I don't understand what he means. Because even he looked at it and he said, that makes no goddamn sense. Because what they say is, what we're going to do is cut taxes for the rich massively and reduce the deficit. Wait. And a fucking grade schooler could see that makes no sense. Why? If you cut taxes for the rich, if you cut taxes for anybody, you are by definition giving less revenue to the government. You just cut the rate that the government is taking in taxes. So you're by definition taking less money into the government. So how are you going to reduce the deficit when you're taking in less money? That makes no sense. The opposite is going to happen. You're going to explode the deficit. That's what's going to happen. Now they say, well, we cut spending along with that. Sometimes they say that. But they never cut spending the equal amount that they cut taxes. It's never, and if they were to do, it's not even possible to do that, because then basically what they'd have to do is cut everything 100%, completely get rid of it, except for the military. That's ultimately what they'd want to do. No social safety net, no programs for the middle class or the poor, no nothing, no infrastructure and all that. Just, hey, money for the military. So the math never works. Every time we've done trickle-down economics, deregulation and cut taxes for the rich, the deficit explodes. It's a historical fact. Look at what Reagan left us with. George W. Bush left us with historic deficits. When he left office, it was a $1.4 trillion deficit. So, you know how they wiggle their way out of this? I'm not kidding. You're going to laugh at this because people don't, a lot of people don't, and the media certainly doesn't really evaluate the arguments that come from the right. But when you stop and do it, it is like quite literally laughable. I remember laughing the first time I heard what their response was to the point I just made. Like, okay, hey, you cut taxes. That is by definition going to limit revenue to the government. So what do you mean you're going to reduce the deficit? You would need more revenue to reduce the deficit. You know what they say? No, it's okay, because when we cut taxes for the rich, it will unleash the beast of the private sector, and the magic of capitalism will work, and there will be so many more jobs created, and the economy will boom so much that even though the rich are paying a lower tax rate, as a raw number, it will be more taxes that go into the government. But that doesn't happen. Every time we've done trickle-down economics, the opposite happens. You have less revenue going into the government. And even if you have a brief flicker of a few years where there's more revenue, even though it's a lower tax rate, it gets worse because it's a boom-bust cycle. Everything takes off and then everything crashes because it's not real growth. It's fueled by speculation and the lack of regulation, which led to crazy investments that were casino capitalist investments that eventually backfire. So, their whole, my point is this. Even without the obvious, grotesque $2 trillion mistake that they made in their budget, even without that, their budget still wouldn't make sense and the numbers still wouldn't work. Because the core argument in their budget is, no, seriously, this time, when we do trickle-down economics and cut taxes for the rich and deregulate, we're going to get more revenue because it's going to explode the beast of the economy. You all are so fucking stupid. But it's not even necessarily that they're stupid. I mean, they are stupid. But it's more that they don't care because it's about getting more money to their corporate buddies. If you have Goldman Sachs guys running your economic policy, what are they doing? They're just trying to bias the laws in favor of Goldman Sachs. Give themselves tax cuts. Let themselves get away with, putting their money in tax havens overseas and dodging their taxes. Let other rich people get away with paying less taxes. Shift the burden to the middle class and the poor. It's class warfare by the rich on the rest of us. That's what it is. His budget is a clear example of that, and they can't even get their basic math right. Never mind the fact that the entire theory their budget math is based on is incorrect.